Alright, we're starting with a new part. We're using inch, pound, seconds, and we have 4 decimal places for precision. Let's start by selecting the right plane and creating a sketch. We're going to use the origin here as the bottom front face reference. So let's go ahead and just sketch out our rough profile. I'm just going to sketch out something here and then be able to come back and use our smart dimensions. So we'll close that up there. So we're going to start with the overall height. We'll set that to 2.05. Now we'll set the width of the top here, the movable jaw, to 1.250. Then we'll set our setback from the back face here to 0.150. And we've got a height from the top here to the back end here at 1.50. And in the front we'll set our height to 1.60. Also, we want to set this setback of the front face to 0.650. Okay, we've got a fully defined sketch, and again, this is just a rough profile of our base extrusion. Let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll continue with some additional features. So I'll switch now to features, and we're going to do an extruded boss. Now, again, since we're only doing 1/2 of our body, I'm going to extrude this in the other direction, and we're going to do half the width of the movable jaw, which is 1.225. Okay, so you can see here we're using the origin, and we'll be able to use the right plane when we're almost done here to mirror the body and complete the full width of the movable jaw. Okay, now we're going to have to remove some material from this bottom left hand corner area, so let's go ahead and prepare a sketch for that. So let's go ahead and select the face here, and we'll create a new sketch. Now we're going to use this bottom left hand corner as our starting point. We'll just create a rectangular sketch here, and we're going to make it such that we're going to use a little bit more material to cut away from this side of the part so that we can get that clearance as we go over the main body. And we're going to set this height to 0.550, and we'll provide a total width of 0.775. And now we'll be able to go ahead and use our extrude cut feature, and we'll go ahead through all. Okay, so you can see through the whole backside there. So the next thing we want to do is work on this top half of the movable jaw. We want to set up a profile to cut extrude into this face to produce the sides of our movable jaw, or at least part of it. So let's go ahead and select the front face here, create a sketch. Now before we continue, I'm going to set up a center line, a vertical center line here, and this will mark the center line for the arc that we're going to use here to cut into this surface. So we'll go ahead and use our smart dimension to set it. We'll set that at 0.445. Now we can go ahead and continue with the rest of our sketch work, and what we'll do here is we'll start at the top edge and come down. We've got this side here. We'll come across and simply trace the corner here. Now I'll go ahead and put in a fillet radius, and we'll use a fillet radius of 0.40. We'll fillet between these two lines here. Now, we also have to locate this along this center line. So what we'll do is we'll select the center and then control click this line here, and we'll create a coincident relation. Alright, now again, as we continue here, we need to be able to show the overall width here of our edges. So before we continue here, let's change this dimension actually to a diameter dimension, and that again should be 0.40. There we go. And since we placed it horizontally, now let's place it vertically. So we'll go ahead and use a smart dimension again and select that center, and then select the bottom edge here and place a dimension, and we'll set that to 0.400. Okay, so we've got our radius dimension, we've got our dimensions for the positioning. Okay, and now all we got to do is go ahead and produce our cut extrude. So we're going to cut into this face about 0.750 to get the rough body profile there. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to features here, and we'll use extrude cut. We'll set that to 0.750. There we go. Now we're going to be able to create the middle part here as a loft. We'll go ahead and see how we're going to produce that in just a moment. So we'll start this by selecting the front face here and creating a new sketch. The next thing we want to do is we want to be able to create the other half of the radius profile here that will then angle and blend with the other top radius profile here, and then loft towards this offset back face. Okay, so the way that we're going to do this is, first let's go ahead and simply create a couple sketch lines here that we'll use from the back face here, and we'll use convert entities. So we got part of it right there. Alright, the next thing is we'll go ahead and create a circle based on the center point here with the same dimension, so it's 0.4. And then we'll go ahead and set another sketch circle along this edge here, and we'll set that one to 0.90 diameter. Okay, and we'll set its position vertically from this edge to its center at 0.60. Okay, now the next thing that we'll be able to do here is trim up our line work and also close our profile. So we'll do that with a straight edge here. So since these two circles are already positioned, what we'll do is we'll control click this edge and then control click the circle, make a tangent, deselect, control click again, control click the circle, and then finish with tangency there. Now we can clean up all of our line work. We're going to use trim here and make sure we clean up the line work here on this edge too. We don't want any extra extensions. Okay, there we go. There's our profile. So this is our first profile that we're going to use for our loft, and we're going to blend this with a profile that we're going to locate on this face. So let's go ahead and close that sketch, and we'll go ahead and start with the next sketch. So let's select this face here and create a sketch. Now, we're going to blend part of this profile into this face. So one way that we could do that is, again, let's reuse these edges. So Control, select the edges, and convert to entities. Now, what we'll be able to do is project this sketch arc here and this sketch edge here onto the back face here in our current sketch. So we'll go ahead and use convert entities once again. Now all we have to do here is extend this edge here, and this is the place where it's going to blend in. Our loft is going to blend in with this back face here. So now we can clean this side up here too. So we have our top edge, our side edge here, the bottom edge, which again we can use convert entities, and then that should complete our profile. Okay, let's just double check, make sure we have no extensions there. So we reused a couple of these edges here and projected them onto this face here in a new sketch, and now what we'll be able to do is create this form here with loft. Let's go ahead and do that. So we'll close the sketch, go to features, and we'll start with loft boss base. We'll start with the front, and then the next sketch to loft to will be the one here in the back. And as you can see, there's our form. Okay, exactly what we're looking for there, and we'll go ahead and accept. And now there's our surface. Alright, let's go ahead and continue with the next feature. Now we're going to take a look at this edge here and the inside edge here of our cut extrude with loft feature. Let's start with this edge here. We're going to use a 0.750 continuous radius, and then we'll come into this face here and use control click to select each of those edges, and then we'll use fillet there as well. And we're going to have a 0.050 continuous radius. Alright, that's really coming together now. Now all we need to do to complete the part is add our holes, but before we do that, let's go ahead and mirror the main body. So let's start with the right plane, and then we'll control click in the design tree here all of our features including the fillets, and we'll use mirror. Make sure that we've got all our features there. And now we've got the full width of our movable jaw. So the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and add the sketch circles for our holes. This will make it easier for us to locate our holes with the hole wizard. First, let's start with the holes on this offset face. Let's go ahead and select this face here. We'll create a new sketch, and if you like, go ahead and get normal to it. And we could start with a center line from the origin, and we'll activate our dynamic mirror here. Now we'll start with a circle, and we'll use some smart dimensions here. We'll set the diameter to 0.200, and then we'll position it from the bottom of this face here at 0.750, and then from the edge here to the center we'll set that at 0.445. Okay, now we're going to use these circles not for a feature, so let's go ahead and select them We'll just use them for reference. Okay, this will be for our offset face holes. Alright, so let's close this sketch, and now let's take a look at the sketch we'll use for the hole at the top of this face here. So I'm going to select this face, create a new sketch. If I look at it from the top here, what I'll want to do is again create a center line from the origin vertically, and then we'll use a sketch circle here coincident with the line, and we'll set the dimension for that circle to 0.250, and the position for that from the back face here to there, we'll set it at 0.820. Okay, and once again we want to make that for construction only. Okay, now lastly we can look down here on the bottom of this base, and we're going to set the two sketch circles here for our hole wizard holes. So select the face, create a new sketch. Once again, use the center line starting at the origin there. We'll set up two sketch circles the same size, so I'll just sketch two here, and we'll select both of them, control click both of them, make them equal. Sorry, let's get rid of one of those dimensions. There we go. And let's get into a normal view. There we are. Okay, we'll make this 0.250, and once again we'll select both of them, control click here, make them for construction, and then also let's set their distance from each side to 0.30. Okay, so we've got all our sketch holes here, and now we're ready to create our holes. We have one more actually. We have one here on this face, so let's select this face, we'll create a sketch. Once again using the center line starting from the origin, making it vertical, and then starting with a circle somewhere here. Now actually, because it is concentric with our previous sketch circles, let's see if we can do that. So I'll control click the edge here, and we can make it concentric with the center point of our new sketch circle here. And we'll make this 0.400. Okay, so we can start with this hole here, since we're only going to make a cut extrude hole. This will be where the end of the screw fits into. So why don't we go ahead and start with this hole here and use our cut extrude, which will go into the part at 0.830 depth. Okay. There we are. Now, using the remainder of the sketches, we'll go ahead and put in our hole wizard holes. So let's continue with the hole wizard, and we'll start with our top hole here. Let's go ahead and enter the hole wizard. We're going to start with a straight tap, bottoming tapped hole, and we're going to select 1032 as our size Now, our blind depth here is going to be at 4.474. We're going to show our cosmetic thread, include the thread callout, and we'll use a 2B thread class. Alright, let's go to positions. And now, as you zoom in here, I want you to select the top face here, or the boss extrude. Then we're going to use our sketch circle here to place it. Now you'll notice that what's happening here is that it's oriented to the top face of that extrude, and it'll drill straight down using this center mark or the center point as a reference. So let's go ahead and snap to it, and then just click OK, and then you should have your hole. You want to make sure that the hole itself is not going in at an angle. And I know it's kind of difficult because this is a sloping face, but remember, we use this face here, this plane here, to orient the hole. And then we use our sketch circle here to locate it. Alright, let's continue with the offset face holes here. Now for these holes, we're just going to use a simple hole. Let's go into the hole wizard. We'll just use a simple hole here, ANSI inch, size 10, and we're going to go through all and switch over to positions. Again, we want to select the face first, so let's select this face and now use the sketch circles as our reference and select those two positions, then click OK. Next, we're going to take a look at the bottom here, and while we have two of the same holes, we have slightly different end conditions. Let's start with the front here, the front end here. Let's enter the hole wizard. Again, we're just going to use a simple hole. We're going to use 1/4 inch size, and we're going to use through all as the end condition. Let's switch over to positions. Again, selecting the same face on the bottom here. We'll go ahead and place the hole and click OK. Now let's return once again to the hole wizard, except this time for our blind end condition here, we're going to use 0.560. Okay, now if you look at the custom sizing here, you can see how we can change the degree angle here. We'll go ahead and just leave it as is. And now we'll switch over to positions, selecting the same bottom face here. And then with the help of your sketch circle here, we'll place that hole and then click OK. Alright. So now, as you can see here, we've got our completed movable jaw. You could add whatever materials are specified and color the part as you wish, and prepare for the technical drawing views as well.